And I would like to invite other panelists. So first of all, I would like to call for Professor Sally Shortall, FACSS, Duke of Northumberland Chair of Rural Economy at Newcastle University. Welcome.
Hey, hello.
Also, Alicia Krakowska, Project Manager at European Institute of Innovation and Technology, AgriFood, and she's also the coordinator of Empowering Women in AgriFood, EWA program. Welcome. And the last but not the least, Daiva Jakaitė, Head of European Parliament Liaison Office in Lithuania. Welcome. So, ladies, I hope you are comfortable in here. I'm happy to be called in here for a gender equality and for some male smell. But, you know, today we have to cover several topics, and I made notes that we should discuss about the leadership and innovations in agri-food, as well as gender barriers and fostering women-led innovations. And I believe that it's really great to start with a good note, with great messages, great experiences. And Christina already warmed up, shared her personal practices. And I believe the first question could be, can you share some examples of innovative projects or success stories driven by women in the agri-food sector, especially those that made a huge impact to sustainability? Christina.
Okay. Yes, right away. I know a couple of the stories, of course. Well, by the way, all the speakers will be getting little gifts today, which is fruit berry. And fruit berry is one of our success stories. That's one of the EWA programs empowering women in agri-food sector. Paulina, she has come from the totally different sector. She was lawyer and she was raising 3 kids at home. And what happened, she said, well, I really wanted to go for the agri-food sector. She came for our program, worked for 6 months. She didn't win. Of course, the progress was too little. But what happened? She continued working with the mentors. She continued working with the idea. In a year, we saw actual product in the market and selling and still going and selling and collaborating. I've heard she has talked with the biggest food producers in Lithuania. So she has many ideas how to collaborate and proceed more. And this is just one of the success stories. We have many more.
So it's an interesting question. But if I may throw it back to you, the way you've asked it is, can you tell us the really big success story where women have made a big impact? And I think this misses the way that women come at sustainable agriculture and innovation. So we have Aoife sitting in the front row, who's one of our innovators from Scotland, who's doing a lot around local food markets, very involved in social enterprises, keeping the fabric of that community together. We have Emma, who's here from Sweden, who's working on her farm, developing a butchery, supplying local food chains. So I think we need to look at the scale differently. These women are doing really important things, but at a scale that is smaller. And sometimes the type of support available is looking at the big shiny event. So it's missing that really important innovative work.
Okay, so thank you for that insight. And you know, we already started to discuss from the good perspective, and I would like to bring some spice to that discussion, you know. We already see some great examples. You mentioned that the scale might be the issue. But personally, I know so many different great leaders, women leaders, entrepreneurs. We have leaders in this room as well. So when we are talking about barriers, could it be that most of those barriers are actually in our heads? Or maybe, well, right now I'm risking to be booed out of the stage, but maybe ladies sometimes are creating those barriers in their mindsets by themselves. It's probably an open and rhetorical question, and probably, Sally, I could move directly to your question regarding your expertise from rural economy. What are the structural, cultural challenges that brings barriers to those areas?
Okay, and just to repeat, I don't see the scale as a problem. I think women are performing at, if you like, the regional, local scale. And in the first presentation, we talked about the importance of local food chains. And I think women are doing that very well. Cultural, structural barriers, we're pretty much talking to a room full of women. You know, and I think it's seen as a woman's issue and it's not mainstream enough. I don't know, Christina, if you would agree with that. So I think those are the barriers. I think the type of support that's available is often not pitched at the right level for women. In terms of farming, access to land is a big barrier. But the point is, we can point you to lots of women innovators who are working around and within those constraints and still doing great work.
Mm-hmm. But how can we address some specific barriers? There are so many of those.
Yeah, and I think actually, again, it comes back to the conversation in the main room earlier. We need policy supports, we need training, we need access to resources and finance. And I think all of those things need to be put in place.
Okay, I believe the same cards are playing for everyone in the sector. So maybe we can move to some governmental level. And from the European Parliament perspective, Daiva, what are the key policy measures or frameworks currently in place to destroy those barriers? Some examples we already heard that might help. What do we have from policy perspective?
Well, first of all, the European Parliament, the European Commission, they really raise this issue on the top agenda, and we do have a celebration or commemorating or focus of our attention. Every year we have Gender Equality Week, and it happens so that from December 5th to 14th we will have a Gender Equality Week in the European Parliament, and guess what is the topic of this year? Women in the digital sector, empowerment and safety. So when Christina called me to speak about this kind, I said, yeah, exactly, that's the topic in the European Union these days. So we can look at women empowerment from European Parliament perspective from many ways, from certain regulation built in European Union directives, regulations and so on, starting from combating violence against women and finishing with special programs for education, skills, and again, special legislation for women's safety in digital world, because it's also quite a big issue. That's one thing. Another thing, of course, is all those already from EU budget coming programs where the gender equality aspect is very often included in criteria. Thirdly, a very simple and very fresh example, I don't know, probably you heard something that during the last 2 weeks, the newly elected European Parliament held Commission designate hearings, including the Commissioner from Lithuania, Andrius Kubilius, who will be responsible for security and space, for defense and space. And in each of those 26 commissioners' hearings, every one of them, despite of their area, defense, agriculture, industry, they all received the question in one or another way related, how will you ensure gender equality in your field? So what I want to sum up, so we have a regulatory framework coming from politicians, we have certain incentives, instruments, but thirdly, and probably most important, we have communication and examples. So sort of kind of moral pressure.
Okay. So yeah, regulations, some strict rules and so on might help. But maybe I could get back to Professor Sally. You know, the crucial role that plays in this game is education, academical research. How do you see that those activities, are those important in order to break those gender inequalities?
Yes, they are, of course. And there are many of us here today who are participating in our grass ceiling project, where we're trying to break the grass ceiling to achieve equality. And there is a lot of very important academic research in that, but in the same way, Christina, you were talking about the importance of working with industry and policy earlier. It's not just about academic research. Our research shows us that women tend to not have as much access to networks, to rely on families for their support when they're starting their innovation. They're interested in a smaller scale. So supports that are supporting innovators to export are always going to miss women. And our research is showing us that. So we've also looked at the different legal frameworks across Europe to see, do they make a difference? And really, they don't. Well, you had very nice photos of you on your farm. The pattern across Europe is that it tends to be boys who inherit land. So we can identify these barriers through research, but then we need policy assistance to help us to ensure that finance is available at the right level. And I would also challenge, it's fine to say how you're addressing gender equality, and we have seen this at a national level, that documents will say they're addressing gender equality, do something very quickly, put it in the corner, and get on with the mainstream business. But we have seen through our living labs, so in each of our 9 countries, we have 6 to 8 women innovators. We're learning from them, we're learning together, but that type of education at that level is also very important.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, you mentioned several crucial things, but from my perspective, you know, we can develop so many scientific publications, we can do so many R&D activities, but how well we are disseminating that information? How do you see that? Because before this conference, we discussed with Alicia, with Daiva, that sometimes we are living in bubbles. We are meeting people that are thinking the same, discussing with them about the same things, and we do not see what's happening in the wider society.
Well, I think the way we have approached this question is entirely different. We have policymakers at EU level involved in our project. We have ADL here, we have Copa Cogeca, we have the European Environmental Bureau. We have policy actors at each of the national levels. We have a European Policy Forum. We're working with the women innovators on the ground. We have stakeholder organizations in each of our 9 participating countries. So this idea that we have a bunch of academics somewhere up in an ivory tower has never been our approach. Mm-hmm. And I think we need to recognize that good academics have long moved past that kind of an outdated model. Okay,
so thank you. So to summarize, to break those barriers, we need policy, we need education, we need to disseminate that information as much as possible. We have to blow our bubbles out, and I believe the next step is that
and we need to work with men. You know, it's not just women who are socialized, yes. It's men. 26 men can go into a National Farmers Union meeting and think that's okay, that there are no women present. So we also need to look at the socialization of men and how we work with them. The Scottish government have done some very good work on unconscious gender bias training with predominantly male farming organizations. Mm-hmm. So that's another component. It's not just about a focus on women as the problem.
Yes, okay. So yeah, so first part is to eliminate barriers. Next step is to move to enablement and empowerment. And I'm moving to a question to Alicia with my question. So from your experience managing the EWA program, what have been the most effective strategies in empowering women entrepreneurs in agri-food?
So as already Sally mentioned, I would say the most successful strategies is those who have a comprehensive approach. So we should provide entrepreneurs with knowledge, with tools, with networks, but as well access to funding. Additionally, I would say that those strategies should also take into account specific needs and challenges of entrepreneurs. For example, in EWA program, we provide each of our participants with financial support that can be covered for travel, for accommodation, and also for child support, childcare, in case a participant wants to travel to program meetings or events outside her city. Also, from my perspective and EWA program perspective, we provide our mentees with personalized trainings, personalized one-to-one mentoring. I believe that this really tailor-made approach is crucial for the successful and effective strategy to support women entrepreneurs. Also, the EWA program is held in local language, so the entry barrier is much lower than in case of the programs, accelerator programs, who are held in English usually. And same with, we don't have the upper age limit, which also sometimes happens. And a really, really nice story I have in mind is that we had a participant from Serbia. She was over 70 and she won in her cohort. So it was very, very great success story, and I keep it in mind. It was very motivational. But yes, coming back to the question, I believe that the comprehensive approach is crucial.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I would like to be a bit spicy because everything sounds so great. You know, those programs are really increasing the level of awareness, especially knowledge, but you mentioned several times personalized, and I believe it's not accessible for wider society, for a bigger pool of women in our ecosystems. So how you are planning to scale up those activities? Is there opportunity for that?
Fantastic question. So this is a question we, as my team, is also thinking about, because we believe that EWA program is a boutique program. So it has only 10 participants per country. We have now covering 7 countries this year and 8 countries next year. 10 participants per country, so it is quite boutique. And this allows us to have this personalized, tailor-made approach. In our idea, our future plan is to include as many countries as we can in Central Eastern Europe, is to actually cover all countries in each edition, so to allow more women from more different countries to take part in the EWA program. However, I believe that this tailor-made approach is really a benefit in this case. There's plenty of programs who are held in English, who are accessible for more people at the same time, but they are missing on this personalized approach, and I think that sometimes it's a good thing.
Okay, thank you for your answer. And I would like to get back to Christina. You mentioned several times the power of networking. And when we are talking about the scale-ups, the bigger the network, the better. You know, it helps to move forward with that. And as a leader of AgriFood Lithuania, as well as Vice President of the European Cluster Alliance, how do you see the role of clusters in fostering collaboration and supporting women to move forward with their innovations, businesses, and so on?
Well, first of all, I agree with a lot what has been already said with that we need to look as a whole approach. We need support on every step. Framework, policy framework, then we need to support from the community. I loved the way you said, Professor Stanley, support from the family. Sometimes I forget that. Sometimes I really myself also forget that, but I really get a good support. Because I have also like a 10-year-old kid. I wouldn't be able, without the support, without somebody looking after, won't be able to participate in such events, wouldn't be able to do my PhD research. So this is a very important part. And how you get this family support, I think it's very, very crucial. That's from the change in the minds in the whole society. How you get that change? That's through the networking and working together. So this is the way I think, right? Now, what is cluster? Cluster also like a little community. Clusters usually unite together different organizations in order to create more value. So this is very important. So when we look, we have huge community of the clusters all over Europe, but by the way, you would find also much less women leaders in the clusters, but it's coming up with the new approaches, with the new opportunities. But clusters being already an organization with the certain knowledge of the certain sector, because in many cases we do not only talk about agri-food, it's almost, as Daiva said, it's in every sector. So this knowledge could be brought how to attract more women or how to encourage. But of course, the encouragement, I wish would be more bigger than the boutique programs like that, or more initiatives like grass sealing, because this is not only, you know, about the funding is very crucial, but again, when it's a support of the same minds or the extra knowledge that you are getting, that you're not alone. You're not alone finding something, that somebody else also sees the value in what you are doing and actually is ready to help you with that value creation. So I think this is very crucial and important. So overall, clusters become one of those front runners, could be front runners in each of the countries to support actually such initiatives as EWA. I wish we would have EWAs or grass sealings in each member state, and we could be able to support not 10 women per year, or maybe 100, or maybe 200. So this is my wish. We will see what happens.
But again, great stories, but when we are talking about the success rates, sometimes we are afraid to talk about those, and from you know, scientific perspectives, ladies sometimes are more conservative and more self-conscious and do not jump to strict and stupid initiatives and afraid to be in that low success point. So does clusters help to increase those success rates?
Okay, I will say from another point of view. If we are looking at the venture capitalists, how they fund the startups, so they fund only 1 out of 10 women startup, but 9 out of 10 women startups are successful. So that's how statistic works, see? And I think clusters, they come as a sector, with the sector knowledge, they know what they need the best, so they can already provide and attract the most initiative ladies or startups to create those innovations, because the biggest value of the cluster is that they hold actual knowledge of their sector and what kind of innovations are needed. So they can be very good platform. Again, they have the best mentors. That's also very important. I like to talk a lot about the example of becoming more and more startup villages all over Europe. So this is the main thing. The startup village could be created in the rural area when there is a mentor, like SMEs already working with such and such innovations, for example, or producing something. And then you can attract extra innovators or startups to work and create more value again. So this is very important.
Okay, thank you. So Alicia, I have a question for you as well on the networking part, and we already started to discuss about startups, about new ventures. As AgriFood organization, you have a really bright network. How do you leverage that in some specific areas, some specific regions, rural regions, and so on? How does it work?
So at AgriFood, we have a couple of dedicated initiatives that are targeting women entrepreneurs and that increasing the innovation among them. So first, it is of course EWA program. We are now covering 17 countries, including the Southern European countries. Annually, we are now supporting over 110 women. Of course, our aim is to increase these numbers. Furthermore, we have a program called Supernovas. It is a program in collaboration with EAT Manufacturing, EAT Urban Mobility, so it is not only targeting agri-food sector. And this program focuses mostly on supporting women-led startups in entering early-stage funding initiatives and industries. Then we also have a program called We Lead Food, and it is a fully online training program that is targeting women leaders in food sector. And this program focuses on increasing leadership skills among women and entrepreneurial skills among women leaders to the whole Europe, basically. Additionally, what I can also add is that, for example, EVA team, my team, is strictly collaborating with business creation team at EAT Food to enhance the level of women-owned startups and ventures that are visible in our general EAT Food programs, because we have a huge portfolio at EAT Food of programs or initiatives, but we need to make sure that women-led startups are the same number represented as male-oriented startups. So yes, we make sure our general programs also enhance these numbers.
Okay, so many initiatives, so many opportunities. We have a scientist in here, professor. So maybe we can get back briefly to you. There are so many programs, so many opportunities. When you're evaluating results, maybe you saw some statistics. Does it work?
I think that's a good question. And I think it's something we really need to think about in terms of the amount of initiatives that are often on the fringe. These are successful, we know they are. They're often dependent on program funding, so they have a particular length of life. And I think the issue is they must be mainstreamed. You know, when you talk about networks and networks for women, they must be networked in the mainstream. Women are not just interested in talking about women, they're interested in talking about soil, about animal welfare, about using all of the animal products, using the wool. They have a very good circular economy approach to farm to fork, and it must be in the mainstream. I think the biggest problem is that it's seen as a women's issue over on the side, and that's why you have a multitude of initiatives that have a short time life. So the key thing is to bring it into the mainstream.
Okay. So, and then I have a question for you. How can public institutions collaborate with private stakeholders in order to foster new businesses, empower ladies, especially in rural regions and so on?
So let's start maybe a little bit from a bit broader perspective. First of all, for innovation, we need skills, digital skills. And I think this is the first task for the EU level and for national governments, politicians, to provide education. Currently, only 20% of employees in information and communication tool sector are women, 20%. At the same time, the sector, ICT sector, needs a lot of workforce, and this shortage is felt so strongly that now we calculate that by 2030 in the European Union we will need 20 million people working in the ICT sector. So education is the first thing where probably the EU institutions and national politics, government framework could come in to help. The other thing is a little bit also changing of mind and information on what is gender equality, what is for women to be in IT, what does it mean to develop IT skills, and also to develop IT tools which are based on experiences not only of men but also of women. If we're talking about artificial intelligence, which is based on accumulated experience, so far, most of accumulated experience, tools, applications, most of them, they are developed by men, unfortunately. And if we want them to be employed by all society, I don't want to say women, by all society, so they should answer, they should reflect needs skills, tendencies of all of us. And probably one more thing I wanted to say, it's a little bit what Christina mentioned about work and life balance, which is also very important from the point of view of European Union and national governments. We all feel shortage of labor in the European Union, in all countries. So work and life balance is important to have more women in the working women, not only in family. And the point is that for the moment, it's like drop out of women in digital careers is at quite a high level rate. At the same time, it's a bit of a kind of circle. If women have more digital skills, they can work, as we say in our parliament, if they can telework more, so they could ensure work and life balance better. And again, we have more workforce, so needed digital workforce for the whole economy to grow.
Okay, so we have to look to the wider picture, not only in specific agri-food sector,
absolutely.
but spread that message wider. Okay, so I have, I think, the final question, which is quite dramatic one about the actionable steps from government, society, professional community, and so on in order to move ladies' businesses forward. But, you know, I'll try to make it more simple, probably. You know, Christmas is coming. And I understand that you do not want to make wishes for guys, you want to do that by yourselves, but imagine that Santa Claus is a magical creature, and you can make a single wish which will help to boost the agri-food sector by ladies, boost entrepreneurship, boost new businesses. What would be that single wish, or what would you ask from the center in order to gain the best results as possible? So Christina, we can start from you.
Okay, I'm gonna start like with a little joke. Well, just imagine Santa Claus is asking me, what would you like for Christmas? And I say, okay, well, let me have a dragon. Santa Claus says, no, be realistic. Come on, Christina, what do you want? Okay, I want the boost for the entrepreneurship. I want equal opportunities for the ladies. I want women empowerment. I want more access to the capital, more access to the land. And Santa goes, stop, 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 stop. No, what kind of color of the dragon would you like? So my wish is, so we wouldn't wish for something. It just would come, would be flesh and blood, and we would be able just to stand together and talk, what else can we do, but not wish, but it would be more. So.
Okay, thank you. Sally.
So if you look at the logo of Grass Ceiling, there is a man holding a baby. It's people in a field. There's a man holding a baby. A woman is driving a tractor and doing kind of digital things on the dashboard. So my one wish would be for the European Commission to mandate parental leave across Europe. So to move away from this idea that childcare is the responsibility of women, as they have done very successfully in Sweden. It is the only European country where having children does not negatively impact on a woman's career. So I think the first thing I want from Santa is shared parental leave right across Europe.
Okay, thank you.
So I can add, these are fantastic wishes, but I can only add something more, because from my talks with our alumni, of EWA alumni, I wish that we as women would be more, sure about ourselves, and to maybe go forward and to grab the future, because we have this power, and I wish to all of us to have this knowledge and to make the first step.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I had first one thought, and I first would like to build on what Professor said about parental leave being obligatory all over the European Union. I will not go to legal basis and so on. Let's not go to that. But we just had European Parliament elections in June, all over Europe, and we had national elections in Lithuania in October. have we asked, before deciding for whom to vote, are you in favor of equal parental leave? Is it a criteria for us when we vote for politicians, when we elect people who adopt laws? Have we asked that? That's my wish, that we really, when we decide whom to vote for, we don't look at the picture, beautiful eyes, nice sentences, right? But we ask questions which are important for all of us. So that's a comment. And well, my wish is very, very simple. I would like to have 50-50 here and here, gender equality.
Okay, thank you. So only 40 seconds left, and it looks like every lady have actually power these days. There are so many supporting mechanisms. We have great leaders, great examples. We can use various networks, so we just need to move to action. And one of the things, personal takeouts for me, and for you I hope so, that we have to break those bubbles. I'm expecting for the next year to see more males, more guys sitting in this panel discussion and discussing about ladies' issues, about women problems.
Equality.
Yes, gender equality. They shouldn't talk about themselves only, but we can talk about the whole community, because we still have to work together. So thank you to our speakers, to Kristina Šermukšnytė-Lešiūnienė, to Professor Sally Shortall, Alicia Krokowska, and Daiva Jakaitė. Thank you. So, minus 13 seconds. We have a time for one question.
No questions.
So then, thank you and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you so much.